From Tampa Bay, Florida, it's the Home Shopping Club, America's original live discount shop-at-home TV service. Millions in bargains, thousands in prizes. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Larry Muzzy.
Welcome back to the home of bargains, the Home Shopping Club. Buzz with me here on Thursday, Bill Cosby night, fashion night as well here today. They're going nuts. They're going wild. What is the hot row today? What is it? Row 1 is the hot row today. Make sure you call and ask for an operator in row 1. We're singing. How far back are we going today? How far back is it? 13? 14? Whoa, nosebleed section back there today, row 14. We are kicking out the hits today. And plus, that's right, Adam West, we had him on yesterday from 4:30 until 5 Eastern Time. Today, Batman is back.
That is Larry Muzzy. Date on this, somewhere in the late 80s probably. Maybe the early 90s when that audio came from. I can't take credit for that. That was one that I found on the internet. It's better than any that I have of Mr. Larry Muzzy. And I swear to God, I'm almost tearing up as I have to start this show because this is a heartbreaking one. As we begin this episode of Are We on the Air, the podcast, of course, dedicated to all things but direct response, which includes infomercials and television shopping networks. As we begin this episode, with the news that a couple weeks ago from the date of this recording, Larry Muzzy sadly did pass away after a very, very brave battle with cancer. Surrounded by his loved ones, and so no better way if you gotta go to be surrounded by your loved ones. And he is one of the reasons I'm in the industry. One of the reasons that I got into it. I was such a Muzzy fan back, again, I guess 86, 87, somewhere where we first started watching Home Shopping Club. And he was just that personality that you just heard in that audio was so infectious. You couldn't help but want to sit and watch him. There's an old television broadcasting adage, and again, a lot of these old broadcasting rules no one in the industry knows anymore. If the host is having fun, the viewer is going to have fun. If you look like you're having fun, the viewer is going to have fun. And Larry did that every single show. I have a list of hosts, past and present, that I could read off that I don't feel like I've ever watched have fun. And for the viewer, it's not fun. For Larry, it was always fun. We communicated a couple years ago about getting him on the podcast. We had a date and everything all set, and then something happened, and he couldn't make the interview, and so we were going to reschedule, and you know how life gets, and it breaks my heart that we were never able to reschedule, because I would love to have picked his brain about the industry, because he was there in the beginning of Home Shopping Club. I did chat with Dan Dennis, who worked with Larry back in the day and whom I've known for 30 years, and he was reminding me how they used to do the Christmas shows together. HSC used to do the most beautiful Christmas shows. You know, all the networks used to take 24 hours off. Home Shopping Club would do a beautiful Christmas show. You can find them, Larry hosted shows and some Dan Dennis hosted shows on YouTube. So search them out. If I remember, I'll put them in the show notes so it'll be easier for you to link if I can find them again. Because it was wonderful. They'd get the hosts out. They talked to the hosts. They talked to the crew members because they were like family. And it just, Home Shopping Club back then, this is before QVC became the dominant thing, had this family-like atmosphere, even though it was built on a radio background and was basically doing radio on television. It had that warmth to it. It had that family feeling to it, and their Christmas shows always epitomized that. And so it is a sad loss because a lot of us just looked up to him. When QVC became the big thing and their over-the-fence format became the dominant thing, obviously Larry, I mean, you can hear in his voice there and his energy, didn't unfortunately translate well into Home Shopping Network's format when they said, well, we have to be QVC, and made their switch, and unfortunately a lot of the original hosts were not able to pivot, which is why I applaud Bobby Ray Carter so much, because she was there in the beginning and was able to pivot, and now is celebrating her 40 years there, or did last year. By the way, speaking of anniversaries, before I continue, I have a long list of topics here. and I'll squeeze in as many as I can. Congratulations to Rick Domeier of QVC. He just celebrated his 30th anniversary. I did not realize it had been 30 years until all of a sudden, literally, I was in my pre-show at the network I work at and looked up at one of the monitors, and it was Rick's 30th anniversary show. I could have fallen over. But yeah, it's been 30 years. I do have video of Rick on my YouTube channel, Sean Wilsey, search it out, of him doing the QVC 50 and 50 tour from Minneapolis. And so it's kind of fun to look back 30 years ago and see that, and then see Rick now, see what's changed, see what hasn't changed. I still stand by my fact. I took some heat for this one, saying he's one of the best. There were some people who gave me some feedback on that, but I stand by it because he does. He does electronics very well. He does everything well, and one of the few men that can safely do jewelry anymore. But yeah, we lost Larry Muzzy, and unfortunately also then just about a week ago from the date of this recording, we lost Chuck Woolery. What's his connection? Well, his connection was he was a very successful guest on QVC. He had a number of things that he did. Some of his most famous are the fishing-related things. And Chuck epitomized how to be, and I've talked about him on past shows. I'm not going to repeat the whole thing. You can go back and listen to those if you want to hear my personal stories about Chuck Woolery. He epitomized how to be a good guest. And for anyone who wants to be a guest, if you can find it, there's not a lot of it. I've looked, a video of Chuck Woolery doing his thing on QVC as a guest. He did it flawlessly. He ticked every box a guest should be. Congenial, educated, passionate, having fun, going back to the whole having fun thing, and really knew about his product and what he was speaking about, especially when it came to fishing thing. I was listening to an interview with his business partner just a couple days ago, which was recorded after Chuck's passing, so it was kind of just a tribute to Chuck. And he brought up a couple really good points, and basically he verified everything I had always said about Chuck. Again, go back, listen to the shows. And just who Chuck was, and what kind of a person he was, and how he treated people, and just what a genial man he was. Had time for everyone that he met. And he was kind of replaying the whole QVC format in this interview. And remember, what we just heard with Larry, that was Home Shopping Club in its heyday. QVC bought out the number one network, CVN, so now QVC was, on Channel 3 in every home in America, and home shopping was buried elsewhere. So people that were just discovering, because many people were just getting cable, that's hard to believe, I know, but many people were just getting cable in the 1990s, were finding this thing called QVC. They had never seen CVN, they'd never seen Home Shopping Club, and so they were used to that over-the-fence format. And that's what QVC strived to have. You're peeking over the fence, watching two people in the backyard having a conversation. You're the third party, if you will. And Chuck did that so well. And the rules back then, and I've forgotten some of these things. Again, so much in this industry I've known, and it's been buried, and this interview reminded me that the guest never looked at the camera, only looked at the host, because the viewer was watching this conversation. And this is something I've instilled in every guest, and again, it's on past podcasts. You can go listen. Every guest I've ever worked with. When they're nervous, they say, what are you going to ask me? What kind of questions are you going to ask me? I say, I'm not asking questions. It's not Q&A. It's a conversation. And again, past podcasts, we cover all of this because that is what the viewer is watching. They're watching a conversation. Now, when Chuck is taking a phone call, yes, then he's looking at the camera because he's talking to that viewer on the phone. So you have to then, it'd be stupid to look at the host if you've got a guest that's talking to you. Again, rules that some people seem to have forgotten in the year 2024, almost 2025, hard to believe. But Chuck did that well. And on one phone call in particular, Chuck had been doing fairly well at QVC, selling out of the things he brought in, and he was talking to a woman, and this was about a vest. He had designed, and I'm not a fisherman, so I'm just relaying the information. Apparently, fly fishing and bass fishing, two very different things. Whatever. And he was selling a vest that was designed for fly fishermen. Or was it bass fishermen? No, it was fly fishermen. And the woman on the phone was talking about she was buying it for her husband because he was a bass fisherman. And Chuck cut her off right there. Said, wait a minute. Do not buy this vest. Don't buy this vest. This is not for him. He will not like it. It's two totally different types of fishing. Chuck's business partner was in the control room, and there's monitors in these control rooms. Someday I got to go and do a whole show just about this, that show the sales in real time, to the second. You know the dollars per second you're making. And there's a graph that shows as the calls are coming in. This was before internet order, so it was strictly all you cared about was the calls coming in. And as the graph's going up, that's a good thing. More and more people are coming in. So the second Chuck says, no, don't buy this. This isn't for him. You could just see the graph like fall off a cliff. And so the QVC people are saying to Mark's business partner, what the hell's he doing? He's killing us. He's telling this woman not to buy this vest. His business partner said, wait a minute. Wait for it. A few seconds later, sure enough, calls spiked. What just happened? Well, it's one of the best examples, and I've got a few others I could share, of sacrificing a sale to gain sales because you just gained credibility. And so the viewers that weren't ordering just heard Chuck tell someone, don't order this. This is not right. Sacrifice that sale because they now realize, you know what? He is honest. He's a guy I can trust. He is honest. He's trustworthy. And every person I've ever talked to about Chuck has said the same thing. And just in my interactions with him, I gathered that. He's not going to say something he doesn't believe. There are many times I'll drive home from work and I'll think, my God, I've been doing this 32, 33 years, whatever the hell it is now. What has been the key to my success? And that's one of the things I've always taken great pride on, is that I am not going to sacrifice my soul to make a sale. And there are way too many people in this industry that will say whatever they need to make that sale. I've mentioned before, when I was at Shop NBC, I had the lowest return rates of any host in the company. Did I have the highest sales? No. But I had the lowest return rates because of credibility, because I took the time to learn my product. I was not over-promising. It was instilled in me by one of my mentors. Under-promise, over-deliver. And that's the greatest bit of advice you can have. And there's too many people now that are just to make the sale saying whatever they have to, over-promising, and then under-delivering in the end. And Chuck's a real good example. I've mentioned many times my friendship with Dan Dennis goes back 30-plus years. He, back in the same era now where we just played the audio from Larry Muzzy, was also one of those who I watched personally at one of our networks tell a woman on the phone when we used to take on-air phone callers, whatever, I wish I could remember what the product was. He said, you know what, this is not right for you, just based on whatever she was saying. So you know what, let me send you back to the call center and they can cancel the order for you. He sacrificed a sale because he knew it wasn't the right product for that woman. Therefore, his credibility just went up. And so someone that wasn't buying is now going to become a dedicated customer because they know, hey, there's a guy I can trust. Salesmen are always, and in the end, that's what this is, it's sales, on the low end of jobs and occupations that people respect. And at the end of the day, I don't care if it's QVC today, any of the networks, they're salespeople. And their job is to sell you a product. Someone was speculating about, well, why do certain hosts get certain shifts and all of this? Again, a lot of it comes down to sales. So it's if they're delivering the numbers, they're going to get certain shifts. And so that, there's more involved. But again, sales can be a very big part of it. So, and also on my Facebook, my personal Facebook, not my show Facebook, I did post just a little thing about Chuck and my memories of him. So if you want to read that, you can go there and read that. But going back to the format again, because where QVC's at right now, and they released their quarterly numbers a few weeks ago, I'm not going to go over all of that. Again, it's all bad news. There's really just no good news in it. And even the CEO or the president, one of them was admitting, yeah, we're going to focus more on streaming now. So they're starting to focus years after, I think, how long we've been doing this podcast? 4 years now? Something like that, whatever it is. Marvin Siegel, son of the QVC founder, said on one of my first shows, they should have pivoted years ago. So it's probably too late to make the pivot. What all the networks need to do is, it's just now you're kind of in this for the long haul. Stay the course. Just do the TV thing. Do it well. Side business, streaming. But others have taken it. And there's just too many others that are too far ahead of the game. you're going to be playing catch up, and it's not going to be pretty. And so I think QVC's done an okay job trying to do on the TV with the over 50 thing to get to that viewer. They still need to go after new customers in their quarterly report. New customer count, it's always down, and you can't build a business without bringing in new customers. They recently did a thing with Elton John, live from London. Right idea. I don't know if that was the right person to necessarily bring in the younger customer, but, good idea. Getting back out there, and they said they want to get out there more and do more things remotely. That's great. That's the right idea. They did build a new set that I said many years ago they needed to do with a giant video wall. As I've said many times, that to succeed in 2024, again, let's just call it 2025, you have to be doing the television aspect of thing differently than you did it. Someone for Bloomberg, I think it was, wrote about Shop HQ probably 4 years ago. They look like TV shopping in the 1990s. They still do. Television-wise, they haven't evolved. QVC, most of their shows haven't evolved. It looks, set-wise, like TV shopping did 30 years ago. The colors have changed on the walls, but otherwise, it's the same visual appearance, but with hosts that may or may not be delivering the same quality that the host did some years ago, and hosts have to evolve as well. I always make the same analogies, I know. Game shows, Today's Show, things like that. You can go online and watch video of, I'll pick on a different one, Password. Password is back with, what's his name from The Tonight Show? Jimmy Fallon. It is in your face. I took about 15 minutes of it, had to turn it off. It does good enough ratings. NBC keeps renewing it. It is loud. It is manic. Go online, watch a rerun of Password from the 60s and the 70s. It'll put you to sleep by comparison. The original Price is Right will put you to sleep by comparison. I mentioned Chuck Woolery. The original Wheel of Fortune did 3 puzzles in one episode. It got a 33 share on television. The Super Bowl gets a 33 share these days. But it's like watching paint dry by comparison. It's a lot faster pace. Visually, it's more interesting. And so QVC, Home Shopping, all the networks need to now find these ways to make the shows visually more interesting, to stay live. And that's going to be the other key. The TV executives are finally realizing of the basic networks, the cable networks and all that if we're going to survive, live is important. That's why for the DirecTVs and the Comcast and all of this, sports networks are more important than ever to keep people subscribing. Because without the sports networks, a live event, you can put out just about anything on Hulu, whatever. And this is where the streaming services are trailing. Netflix tried to do the boxing match recently, failed miserably. Was it Amazon that had problems with a football game? So the streaming services can't do live like the broadcast and cable networks can do live. So it's really important for the TV shopping networks to be visually interesting, stay live, stay relevant, and try and just do something that for the channel surfers, in air quotes, might get them to stop. And events, promotions. I hear JTV commercials on the radio now. That just blew me away. JTV advertising on the radio. QVC should be doing the same thing. They should be getting out there, advertising. Maybe they are, and I'm just not hearing them on the stations that I listen to, but that just kind of blew me away. We're 20 minutes in, and I've hardly scratched this list. What can I do quick? Speaking of QVC, Rick, 30th anniversary, congratulations. And then we already mentioned the resignation coming in the coming months, actually, of Mary Beth. Another one of the QVC hosts is quitting. Now, I don't want to speculate as to why. I have no idea why anyone ever quits. There's always the real reason, and sometimes there's a separate reason. But Jennifer Coffey has announced that she is going to be leaving the company effective 2025. And I mentioned her in past shows as one of the stars, one of those that I really like. And I think it's a shame that she is leaving. I hope it's because of her own accord. I hope because it's not any sort of a financial thing. But it wouldn't surprise me if you do start to see some of the longer-serving, call them what they are, the more expensive hosts decide, you know what, it's just not worth it anymore because the things are going to be changing, I have a feeling, and so I hope that that's not it. Only other thing on my QVC list here, actually 2 more things. The Today's Special Value, I had criticized QVC a few years ago because, again, the initial relevance of the TSV was one day only. That's it. They'd announced a couple years ago in their yearly meeting, because they've been doing it like for a week straight. Same TSV for a week. They announced we're not going to do that anymore. It loses its credibility. And for a while they were back to one TSV every day. Well, now they're going on for a week again. So again, it's throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. And the Black Friday TSV 2 years ago, it was 2023. Curling iron or whatever, the $1,000 hair dryer, whatever it was. This year they were back to doing a Bose sound bar, which again I think might be a much more relevant item for holiday gift giving than a $1,000 hair dryer. And things that do go away. A network you might have never heard of. But they were around a long time, actually. Create and Craft. It was a television shopping network based out of the UK, but they broadcast in the United States. They would superimpose on their graphic the price in dollars. They're gone. They no longer exist. They, in October, had posted that they were having some difficulties, and apparently they just weren't able to pay their bills anymore. And then about a week later, they weren't able to process payments, but underlying issue was they can pay their bills. And so they are now gone. So they are no more. The UK used to be home to more shopping networks than we had in the United States, and a much smaller country. They embraced the falling auction format greatly, and most of those networks have now vanished. But they've lost a lot of networks over time. They still have the QVC, Ideal World. The sister network to Shop LC is over there. Shop TJC, I think they're going by now. So they still have a number of them. And QVC UK, did I mention that, is still there. But Create and Craft is no more. A number of United States-based hosts have worked there. Libby Floyd, Sean Diddy, I think, was there. There are a number that have been there at one point or another. And so crafting is very niche. HSN does a good business with it. You'll never see it on QVC, I don't think. And it's a way that they need to set HSN apart from QVC. And that was a topic that I was going to bring up on this show, but I think we have exhausted our time for now, so we will save that. Please subscribe. 5-star reviews, love them. Please leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening, but subscribe wherever you get your podcast. You never miss a show. Plus, you can listen to the archive of past shows. I hope you'll check me out on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Sean Wilsey, and on Instagram at SWilsey. And I do want to thank you very sincerely for downloading this edition of our We on the Air. Copyright 2024 King Bobby Productions. All rights reserved.
Yes, I know, Travis. That's why we give such bargains.